Independent Mounted Patrol Initiative. Yeah, it also means war, which the guys like in Zimbabwe. You know, they like they're at war against poachers, and Independent Mounted Patrol Initiative, because we are totally independent. I was basically pretty much self-funded, and we go where we're told. So we'll be in any area. This actually is one of the worst areas of poaching. It's a game corridor, it's right by Victoria Falls, but this was originally completely wild, and game still move here freely. You have town there, high density population, with your bushmeat market right there on demand, a lot of little restaurants there, and they're really keen on their animal meat. And then just over the river, you've got our neighbours, and a lot of poaching from there on the islands and on the riverbank. Oddly enough, the golf course, of all places, where it has a lot of game on it, you've got your fairways, you've got the rough. Your rough is an ideal place to set a snare. Golfers, when they're playing golf, aren't looking for things. And again, because it's got roads and cars and people moving around, when they do poach an animal, it's very easy to move the meat out quickly without being noticed. If you look at these areas, you've got a lot of scrub cover, it's surrounded by mapani, and it's a great area where they're going to be lying up, they're going to rest up in the shade there, they're going to move down to water, and so you've got all of your movement strategies going on around here. Your poacher probably knows more about game movement than any of us. He has to know where they're going to be before they get there. That's how he works. It's his job. He sits there, he watches, and he learns. A good poacher, not your subsistence, but your professionals are very well versed in movement patterns. He knows. So, and as if you're really doing your job well as an anti-poaching unit, you're anticipating that. You know as much as he does, and you've got to keep one step ahead of him. Why we use horses? You can range further, you've got distance, you can move through herds, you can look at them, you can go right into thickets, you can cover a much larger area. Once you've covered one point, you can then get on your horse and you can then zoom faster to another point. So you're much more mobile than you are when you're on foot. On one patrol, they've covered probably about 2 or 3 times as much as anywhere else. If you find a big snare line set up, you're going to be stuck there raking it in and out for much, much longer, but you still have that ability to cover distance. You have that height. It gives you a different visibility. There is a thing with a snare line. Your poacher, when he's laid his snare line, he stands back, he looks, he watches, is it visible? You don't want it to be too visible to the human eye. What he can't do is sit on a horse. You've got a different angle, which does make picking things up easier. Type of horse, this was raised in the bush, in a gaming area, grew up near Lemco. As tough as anything, been mauled by lions, kicked them in the teeth, kicked the lion in the teeth, recovered very quickly. You can see the scar there on the hock.
Yes.
This sort of horse will go all day on very little. And we let them eat. As you can see, they haven't stopped eating for a second. I believe in letting my horses graze the whole time. You stop, let it eat. There are disadvantages. Yeah. You're also riding lunch. Lion are a problem.
Yeah.
Especially in areas where there's a lot of human-wildlife conflict and wildlife that work associated. I mean, well, if they're lion are killing cattle, they start to associate livestock with people as food. So you've got a bit of a problem. Yeah, one of us is armed because it's not very nice to not be able to do anything with your mate.
Absolutely.
If it gets into a dangerous situation. Buffalo and elephant, we perhaps do not have the same level of danger from them as people on foot do. We don't. Definitely not. As I said, we ride into herds, we monitor herds. Elephants, when they come into this town area, are under pressure and a lot more nervy than they are when we're further out. When we're sort of further out, we can actually just sit, they're very calm. When they're in town, they're nervous, and we have to respect that with them. So what we found here is a poacher's backpack. Very simple. He's going to walk with this. And what he's done, what he'll do, it'll be hidden. He'll move out, he'll stash it, he'll case an area where he's going to set up his lines. He'll be watching what the animals are doing. His knives, start off. He's got it in a hole to keep him through the night. No alcohol in it at all. He doesn't want to get drunk. He's got to be sharp. He's got to be alert. So there'll be my hair in here. The sugar, bit of energy. He'll pour that in, shake it up when he gets there. And why the sugar's always carried separately, but they do. Okay, so just my hair and sugar. Not necessarily any solid food. He's not going to leave that there because of ants. So this will be sealed up. He might bring in some bread with him. That's what the meat's going to go in. Fold them nice and flat. He can fit about half a dozen in here. None of that's illegal. You can stop him with that. You can't get him on that. Knives, again, same thing. Perfectly legitimate. Doesn't fold. This will be used for like cutting through a bone. It's serrated, slightly blunted now. They're actually carried very, very sharp. And then there'll be a roll of wire. Yeah, it's got a loop at the end, but you can't actually prosecute him for carrying a piece of wire. Quite often they'll set up the snare line and then they'll have a spare roll of fencing wire. They don't go to a shop and buy wire. In that sense, poachers are very green. They recycle.
Yeah, sure.
Telephone line, accelerator cable. That's the whole thing about an electric fence around your concession. It's weapons and equipment for a poacher. And unless you're continuously patrolling it, and electricity doesn't bother them, you need a pair of rubber-handed pliers.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
done. Once the animal's dead, they'll quickly butcher it in the field, and they cut it quickly. Load it into bags, phone a taxi. They'll have their tame taxis, and all you do is you hand them a bit of meat, keep your mouth shut, and off you go.
Yeah.
We've actually found poached buffalo below low-density area, your wealthier suburbs.
Right.
And what the guys were doing, they were poaching to order. You know, it's my son's 21st. Would love to have a buffalo in the braai, and the meat would just go straight back into the low-density suburbs. Very easy to hide. Zambians are quite interesting because they like to take. You'll generally find very little left. The Zambian poach, there's almost no carcass left.
Right.
So you'll find a poached buffalo, you'll only find the stomach contents. You don't find the skeleton.